What's up, everybody? This is the Every Dad Podcast, and we are back. I know it's been a couple of months since we've recorded an episode, been out on the platforms, whatever they're called, but we're here, we're back, we are ready to talk about dad stuff right here with these boys. So, how's life, man? It's been a couple weeks, months, but we're back. What's been going on over the summer? I'll tell you my summer. I got a 15-year-old that's about to drive, so we've been driving. That's scary, by the way. Like, you guys aren't there yet, but when you're,
I don't want to be.
When your youngest child, like you have a car in the driveway for your youngest child who is about to get on the road in Panama City. That's kind of scary, man. Like, it's crazy, but he's doing good. The oldest one's working. Spent some time with my wife over the summer while the kids were gone. So, man, it was good.
Yeah, you're golfing and then doing beach days with your wife.
Absolutely.
Golfing, so
Absolutely.
Things are pretty good.
That was a good day. Like, golf in the morning, beach in the afternoon. Like, that's a good day. That's a good day.
It's a lot of time.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. And then, like, and if I could just be cheesy for it, not maybe cheesy, but like spiritually.
No, go on.
No, like spirit. Like, we're talking about how we've been. Like, I've been really like spiritually, like, looking at my view of God. Like, if I feel like we need to have a really high view of God, and I start to kind of do some self-reflection, and I may at times have a low view of God. So I've been kind of looking at scripture, different things, just talking about who God is, what he is, his nature, his character, and it's just, dude, it's kind of rocked me a little bit. So that's where I'm at.
That's good.
How are you boys? You good? Blakey
yeah,
boy?
It's there's a lot. I feel like a lot has happened in a short period of time. You know, we do the first 20-something podcasts, and
21.
21. We made it to 21 episodes.
And I'm just literally a baby dad at this point, and just figuring it out. And I don't feel like I have a whole abundance of answers now, but watching her change and grow in front of me is pretty wild. And you know, she's a lot different than the way she was when we first started this. So it's a totally different phase, and you go from baby to 1 year old to now she's almost 2 years old, and like there's just dramatic changes that happen in that.
She
short
waved
period
at
of
me
time.
the other day.
Yeah, she's finally acknowledging that you exist.
Yeah.
And being somewhat friendly with you. So some big wins
From a distance.
from you.
Like, he was like 20 feet, but she waved.
So she doesn't do this like real. She doesn't really wave. She just kind of holds her hand out at you, and
She's
just
trying to
like,
use the
as
force.
long as
She's
she
like,
can.
yeah.
But
It was good.
yeah, I don't have a whole lot of free time of beach days with my wife.
It'll come.
I feel for you, man.
But we've hit. You know, we're spending more time together. We had the grandparents watch her for an extended period of time this morning and grab some coffee, and so Ashley's more and more willing to kind of leave our kid with some grandparents or
Nice.
whoever else, and we're getting some mommy and daddy time.
Baby
back, which is
steps.
good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
How many? No pun intended. Seriously. No. How many miles have you ran over the summer? Do you know?
Not that many. I think Ashley's well over like a couple thousand for the year.
Miles.
Oh yeah.
Wait, for the year or for the summer?
No, the year. I'm gonna get this wrong, and if she even listens to this, she'd probably get mad at me. But I'm pretty sure she's like over 2,000 miles for the year. How many days have we had in this year?
And you want me to just answer that question?
We're recording in August.
207.
Can I say? Oh, easy. Then I'm right. Yeah, over 2,000 miles for the year.
That is crazy.
We
Like-
need to. I'll tell you who needs to sponsor this podcast is Bob Stroller. Because I think Ashley's the Bob strollers, the B.O.B. strollers.
Bro, I've got an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old and
I'm
a
pretty
15-year-old.
positive
I don't
she's
have
broke
strollers.
a record for most miles put on a single Bob stroller.
Really.
Have you had to change the tires?
We've had people recognize her in town as, oh, you're that girl that runs in the neighborhood.
That's awesome. I don't know that I've put that many miles on my car this year, just to be honest with you. Like,
How many pair of
That's
shoes
impressive.
does she go through in a
our
month?
shoe budget is as bad as our food budget. It's a sacrifice.
what is your food budget? This is probably a good transition.
I'm not even going to say that out loud.
This is a good transition into how my summer's going.
I don't want to talk about the food budget because it's difficult, but it's an investment we're willing to make because we want our child and our whole family.
You want your child to eat
as healthy as well. She's
Yeah.
a phenomenal eater. She's a terrible sleeper, but she's a crazy good eater. I think you've seen it. I mean, she'll eat anything, and Ashley does a great job of getting her all the best organic, natural. I mean, we eat the best food we could possibly eat, which is not cheap. So I can't argue.
I
that
think
one.
our food budget would blow. You would be astounded.
Yours is a mount.
Let's just count to 3, and then we'll all say
No, but
what
like,
our
we got,
what our
like,
weekly
you talking
monthly
per
budget is.
week or per
don't
month? Because we go. I'll tell you, we go every 2 weeks. Jen is. It's on the calendar. Today's grocery day.
Nice.
And we're right at like $325 for 2 weeks.
$325 for 2 weeks.
Yep.
No, I'm not even close. I'm way above that.
So I'm eating right now about $1,800 or $1,900 a month.
I think I'm in that ballpark. Maybe that's a lot. I'm not far.
I am. How's my summer going? How's my summer going? Everybody's looking at me
Hang
right
on.
now. Oh no!
You have a family of 7.
If you
You
bought
have
a home,
family of 3.
if you bought a home more than 5 years ago, there's a good chance that I'm paying more for food a month than you are for a mortgage, because we've got 5 boys, so we're feeding 7 people on a weekly basis. There are no leftovers on that total price, by the way. Like, it is just still.
I'm glad I'm not.
We have a grocery day. Yep, and by the day before groceries, it's like we're looking in the cabinet trying to figure out what we can give them until grocery day hits the next day. Yeah, it's crazy. So 5 boys, how's it going? Still wild, still crazy, still a lot of fun.
Here's the stage Ty's at. We went over there for dinner a couple weeks ago, and it's raining, and we're grilling out, and Ty's not going to be disrupted from grilling out and having some people over. And
That's right.
And his boys are outside in their yard that's no longer a yard. It's a pigsty. It's full of mud, and they're just flinging mud everywhere. It's getting into the patio. It's probably getting into the grill.
I just didn't let it get into the burgers.
And then they're just fighting, and he's like, just kind of lets him fight until they figure it out, or if it gets too out of hand, then he stops it. I'm like, this is awesome.
We honor the words "please stop," or we're trying to. So we let them go at it, and then they say "please stop," and then we really encourage. We honor "please stop" around the Clark household.
Let's get back to the grocery budget, bro.
All right.
Like forget the dollar amount, okay? Forget the dollar amount. When my wife goes to the grocery store, and sometimes I go with her as a really good husband, I go once every now and then to the grocery store with her. But anyway, like we fill up the buggy with about $325 worth of stuff. And the other day, like, the buggy was so full, the milk fell off, and somebody had to bring her the milk. So if y'all are doing, let's just $1,200 a month. How many buggies are you? How many?
It's a delivery.
So we've got delivery.
Yeah,
delivery.
So we have them
The
deliver
Walmart
it to us. Yeah.
I don't even know what she has set up. She's got some deal with Walmart. It's like $30 for the year or something like that. It's not bad.
Yeah.
So
No,
a
it's
combination
worth
of
it for sure.
Publix and Walmart.
For sure. So they deliver our groceries to
Do they
us.
hate you?
They probably don't love us.
Yours is higher.
It is a mandatory.
I am shocked.
It's a
about how
mandatory
yours is.
tip, though. So I mean, oh yeah, it's insane. It's really a lot of fun to
Well, I
see
feel better about mine.
how much we can eat in a month. So that's good. But other than that, things are going really good. Couple new things going on with me. Really just loving life, spending time with the boys. Trying to think what else happened. So I did start a
Here it is,
pressure washing,
ladies and gentlemen.
soft washing
Self-plug
company.
promo.
Best part
called-
of having your own podcast is you can plug your own business.
It's called Clark Pro Wash. I'm very, very excited about it. The reason why this is a good transition is because in Florida, at least, I'm assuming it's the same way in other states, we found out owner-operator LLC at 7, your children are allowed to legally help you. So we are very excited about Liam getting to do that with me. He's going to be like the person that like rolls the reels up and gets everything ready to go. And so I'm excited about having something to do with my boys
If it wasn't
as
legal, would you still
they
do it
get a
anyways
little
'cause you think it's
as
right?
they get a little older. We wouldn't encourage that.
Okay. Good thing we live in Florida.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that you talk about trans. So let's thank our sponsors now, because we are back at Sola Coffee Bar, right in Panama City.
Season 2.
Hey, if you're in the Lynn Haven, Panama City area, Sola Coffee Bar, and What's Up Media is doing our lighting and our camera work again, which much appreciation to those guys. They do a lot of quality work, so thank you for your time, bro. And then also Debo, running the sound, doing the editing for us, the stuff that nobody else can do, but the stuff that when it all goes bad, we blame Debo.
And we're obviously trying out a new set here, so we're
Trying a
a
new set.
little awkward about the chairs, and like I think at least my intention with what we're doing now is to be a little more prepared coming into these things, and I think we've covered some of the high notes. Not that I mean, I gotta be careful what I say.
No, this is good.
We're going to be a little more prepared
No,
than we were last
what
time.
I'm trying to say
Okay,
is
sorry.
I'd love to get in, we've really outlined a series of topics that we want to kind of do a deep dive into.
Yep.
So the thought is like, I expect to come prepared with notes. I've probably got too many for today. I'll figure that out as we go, but like it's nice to kind of be at a table. We've got stuff in front of us. It's just kind of back and forth conversation. And so hopefully the setup is a little more comfortable and
We'll figure it out.
conducive to good conversation.
I might have to get a pillow and put it under, but other than
figure it
that,
out.
we're good. My torso's smaller than you guys is what I'm finding out.
It's not narrower.
It's not narrower.
I don't know
no,
what to
that's
say about that.
That's right.
Anyway, no, like, I mean, if we go back to the very first episode, or the first time that we started doing this, again, like we just are trying to have some conversation with other dads about everyday life. And I think it's been productive. We've been able to learn and glean some information off of each other. We've been able to have some really good conversations. And even, some of the feedback that we've gotten from other people that we know that have, communicated with us, like, again, just, this isn't just our principles that we are saying. Like, these are things that we've learned from Scripture. These are things that we've learned from life as we are growing as dads. So we're just having this conversation about things going on. And I think the perfect example of this is I was talking to a guy the other day, a guy that I just met, just going through a lot of difficult things in his marriage, a lot of difficult things with his kids. And the only thing that he needed somebody to talk to. Like, I met him one morning, and then that same morning we had about an hour conversation. He just wanted somebody to talk to about, how to be a dad, how to be a good husband, and just the things going on. So this sort of environment, this sort of podcast, just being able to talk about guys being dads and what it means, what it looks like, how do we lead our families well, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
well, it's just been productive.
Yeah, for sure. And I would echo that by just saying, I think, one of the goals has always been, and I think, hopefully this season 2 will kind of be a good representation of this, is that we don't want to just come and like regurgitate our own ideas and concepts, but really our goal is to stretch ourselves and grow personally as fathers, personally through our conversations, and really bring the truly the best principles that have been tried and true, from all of the best resources and all of the best experiences of dads that are much older than us that have walked this road, and to really kind of bring all of that together to be hopefully something that can really help out an individual dad in their everyday life. I think is a.
And so one of the things that we've done is, we kind of all read a book together by a guy named John Ortberg. It's titled "The Life You've Always Wanted." And so, this season we're going to kind of talk through some of those principles, and again, just some really good information about intentional discipleship with your family, and even personally, what that looks like, what that means, how do we do this, and so. As we begin these conversations over this next season, I think it's going to be good to, one, stick to our core value of intentionality.
Yep.
Right? Like if we go all the way back again to last season, the big thing that we talked about a lot was being intentional with our wife, being intentional with our family, being intentional as a father. And now we're going to kind of move along going, hey, what does it mean to be intentional in discipleship? Discipling yourself, discipling, your kids, discipling your family. And there's a lot of components to that we're going to be able to chat about.
I think, and ultimately, that word intentional to me means like action. Like we should be producing some sort of act. Like it's not just an idea of like, we all want to be. It's easy to say you want to be a good dad, you want to be more Christ-like, and all these things. But what are you actually doing about it?
Right.
So hopefully, this attempt to like bring in some outside materials and go through it, like you said, bring in perspectives that we're not just regurgitating our own narratives or preconceived notions or what have you. But to actually act on these things and then figure, okay, how do I apply it? What are some actual practical things I can do to improve as a father, improve as a husband and a Christian, and just as a person?
Yeah. And I think really to just kind of jump in on the conversation, and even even the title of the book, The Life You've Always Wanted, and then going through each chapter, but kind of posing maybe even like the core problem that dads face. And that is maybe that there is something missing in our fatherhood. That, you know, and I've been here. I'm sure that there's going to be multiple times, you know, through the rest of my journey as a dad, which never ends, that there'll be other times that I feel this way. But it's so easy to get into a rut. It's so easy to get into just a daily rhythm of life that almost happens by accident or that happens to you, versus actually going, you know what? No, I'm actually going to set some very intentional goals for my family this year. I'm going to be in the driver's seat, or I'm going to allow, you know, God to control, you know, through very intentional planning and prayer. I'm going to set some unachievable without some very specific daily routines, goals, and I'm not going to just assume, because you think about it, nothing else in life happens by accident. You don't get to be successful by accident anywhere else. You do it because you have a very regimented plan, a goal, systems, and you have people to hold you accountable of that, checks and balances. And so why would fatherhood, something that does have, you know, a measurable goal of success, I mean, I think what your child looks like at the end, I do think is a great representation of, you know, looking at some of the promises in Scripture, how you stewarded the time that you had with them.
Yeah.
And, you know, it should be something that is intentional, where you're training towards on a daily basis the life that you have always wanted as a dad, and really going and taking that through daily rhythms versus going, okay, whatever happens today, right? And we get so, I think, caught up sometimes in the daily routines and the daily schedules, and it's very easy to go, wow, like, how did I get here where I don't feel like I'm in control of anything? I don't feel like I'm having any moments that actually matter with my children. Like, I feel like I'm just babysitting from the very beginning of the day to the very end of the day, and that's just continually happening. Right. I'm not having actual times to disciple or to live, you know, joyful moments out with my children, which is what we all want when we first start.
So I'm gonna maybe pose a question to that. You know, you said maybe sometimes as fathers we're missing something, or we feel like we're missing something.
Yeah.
You know, and if we, I'm trying to figure out how to word it. If we sit back and say, all right, first off, we want to be able to talk about all these principles. We want to talk about being content in our life and content in our family, content with what we're doing. It's got to start somewhere, right? Like, you know, we have been a podcast that is not ashamed of the gospel, not ashamed of talking about our relationship with Jesus, not ashamed of talking about how Jesus has worked in our life, the fact that we follow Jesus. We're not ashamed of that. But our spiritual growth, our spiritual life started with us surrendering fully to the Lord, right? So it started somewhere. So this thing of fatherhood being starting these goals, setting these goals, it's got to start with a transformation, right? Like,
yeah, well, and a recognition that we've failed to become the person that I think God has called us to be, right?
Yeah.
So you have to admit, okay, like, I know I've got some shortcomings. There's obviously, I'm disappointing on some level. Like, I think everybody who's listening to this would be listening to it, I would think, because they're wanting to do something more
right.
or better or to improve themselves. So to recognize that you are human, you have faults, and then to try and build yourself back up to the person that God has called you to be. And that's where a lot of people find themselves surrendering when they're at their lowest point. So it may take you getting to that low point to realize
right.
that.
Well, and so going back to this idea of being transformed, like we've been transformed by the blood of Jesus, right? We are being transformed as we continue to grow. And, you know, going back to something that was said in the book, is like, if we're not being transformed, we're either being informed about something or we're conforming to something else. Mm-hmm. And so I think maybe a good spot to maybe have a conversation about is, you know, one, maybe as fathers, we need to set aside our pride and go, like you said, like, we are we got some things we got to work through. We got some things that we got to work on. But the key component is, all right, I got to lay down my pride, surrender my life to Jesus. I got to understand that it's through his transforming power that I can be this dad and husband that I need to be. Not getting informed by all these other sources, not conforming to the patterns of the world that Romans talks about, but we are being transformed by the renewing of our mind and our heart. So when you say you feel like maybe fathers are missing something, like can you peel the layer back on that? I know I'm catching you off guard on that question, but can you peel the layer back practically on kind of what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think so. When I say I feel like we're missing something, I mean, I think it does go back to, we were all created to have an intentional life. I mean, one of the best ways that I've ever heard it said was, what we all want is at the end of the day, take fatherhood out of it. Human beings, we want to live a life that matters. We want a life that's filled with joy. We want to be fully known, and because we're fully known, be fully loved.
Yeah.
And what happens, unfortunately, is the fear and the way that the devil works in each and every one of our lives through trauma, through our insecurities, is he convinces us that if we're fully known, that we won't be fully loved. And so most of us end up settling for only being partially known, but as a result of that, you're only partially loved. And because the people that are in your life that want to go deeper, talk about, peeling the layer back, your wife or, these people that are saying, I love you unconditionally. There's nothing that you can do that can take that love, right? And we are only able to understand that in the dynamic of our closest relationships. And until we have a source, until we have a definition of love that has to come from something that's constant, then we're only the best imperfect relationships that we've had. That's as close as we're ever going to get to actually being fully known and fully loved until we actually find the source. And again, we've been unapologetic about this, that is an unconditional loving God who saw the problem of our hopelessness and our sin. And because he wasn't lost, but we were lost, he went first and stepped out of heaven, put on flesh, lived a life, and then went to a cross. 3 days later, he walked out, presented himself to 500 people, and, went first to say, I love you unconditionally. That's never going to change. There is nothing that you ever did to earn even one of this, one fragment of my love. And therefore, there's nothing that you can do to ever take that away. And when we actually start to, put that, I say to the test, I know the Bible talks about not putting, God to the test, but when you actually start applying that in your everyday life and going, you know what, like Jesus' love for me really doesn't change.
Yeah.
And therefore I can build an identity, not on anything that I have or anything that can be taken away, but I can build that on something that's never going to shift at all, which is Jesus' love. And then as I understand what he's done for me, and I start to develop that personal, and that's why what we're going to get into in just a minute is so important, then I'm able to give that to those people, still imperfectly, but I'm actually working on giving what I understand that I've gotten, which is unconditional love that isn't built on circumstances, but it's built on the promise of God that never changes. And then I'm able to start giving away through a daily relationship with him, the overpouring of that to other people in my life. But it's not self-centered. It doesn't have an end game. It isn't, something that's prideful, but it's genuinely, I realize what I've been forgiven of, and that there's a God that will never stop loving me. And so I can then reciprocate that to other people in my life, my wife, my children. And so, when I say, this is what's missing, I would say, if you don't have, a source that is constant, that doesn't change, that isn't unconditional, then what is that for you? What do you get up in the morning and say, today I have hope because blank? Like, what are you going to put in that blank that's going to actually allow you each day to have meaning and purpose? And a lot of times, and the last thing is, that answer is my wife, or that answer is my children. But that changes, that shifts. And so there has to be something that's greater than that we're pulling from to give love, which is a commodity that we don't get to make more of. I mean, that's something that only comes from, a source. And so, so I guess all that to say is, at the very end of the day, I think there has to be a definition of love that you're operating out of that's greater than imperfection that you've seen or that you've felt.
Yeah.
I think you just perfectly articulated why this is different than any, like the book we read, it's different than a self-help book. Like, or hopefully this podcast is different than your traditional self-help, if you will. Like, I want to become a better father, here's 3 steps. Like, it's deeper than that, and it's because of the source that you just outlined. And the gospel insists that human transformation is possible, right? Because of the love from Christ that you just mentioned, and because of all those things that he did for us, that we're able to become new creatures. So we're working with a source that goes far beyond what our own capabilities of.
Yeah.
So very well said.
Thank you.
Well, and thinking about, some of the stuff that we are talking about, the reality is, like, we can talk about our spiritual life all the time. Like, maybe God's not so much worried about the spiritual life. He's worried about our life, right? Like, he wants to redeem us and make us different. We're a new creation that,
Yes.
New Testament talks.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was spiritual life is life, right? Like, there is no, like, oh, well, I have this part of my life and that part, and then there's the spiritual component. Like, that is your life, right? And it's why keeping your faith a secret is silly. Like, it should kind of spread its way into every part of your life. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
That's radiating. I mean, it's something that, should be how every other area of your life operates, with that. I think in that source, I mean, I think that really kind of, it does go back to one of the great concepts that they brought up, which was, training versus trying. I mean, because when you go and you look at, my best efforts without a source is literally just that. It's trying. I mean, you think about how many times have you been in a conversation, with your wife and you're short-tempered, right? And then after that you go, what? I'm going to do better next time, right? But we haven't fixed the root.
I've tried being patient with a toddler.
Right.
Trying doesn't really get me very far.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the goal, is that we're not just working on ourselves, like you said, Blake. It's not just a self-help book, but it's a transformation where we realize that maybe even some of the tools that we've used, maybe you've grown up in church, and I would imagine, I mean, the reality of the situation is, no matter who you are, if you're listening to this, you've got some framework of God, whether it's healthy or whether it's unhealthy, whether it's right, biblically or not. There is something that you are working from when we're using the, what you could potentially call as Christianese, or this verbiage, jargon, if you will, on, some of these concepts. And what happens is we all kind of build this vocabulary and we go, okay, I know what God is, and I know who Jesus is, and I know because, this person took me to church when I was a kid. And what I love about this book is he really poses the direction in a drastically different way than I'd ever heard before. So when you look at, and most of the people listening to this will at least probably be able to tell you what the golden commandment is, right? I mean, and that's, kind of a basic thing. And if not, then, it's that you shall, Jesus was asked the question, what is the greatest commandment?
I was going to ask him what it was.
And Jesus responded and said, you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, and with all of your strength. That is the greatest commandment. And then the second is like it, and that is that you should love your neighbor as yourself. And one of the things that I love about this is he says, if you can do those two things without spiritually disciplining yourself, be my guest. You can't. That's not the measurement of God's love for you. That is the tools that you have been given, right, to actually live out your designed calling and your designed purpose. And so that's why you need a lot of these daily disciplines that we'll be talking about, not because they themselves, church attendance, reading your Bible on a consistent basis, praying consistently, those aren't, giving somebody something that, belongs to you and not expecting it back. Like, those aren't measurements of spiritual vitality, but those are tools, the same way that you would go to a gym and you would use a leg press, or you would, use a bench press. And those in and of themselves, buying a gym membership doesn't make you fit, but it's then understanding and utilizing on a consistent basis those to your benefit that ultimately reap the benefit and the reward that you're trying to accomplish. And the same thing's true about a lot of these disciplines.
And there's a lot of people buying a gym membership.
I just canceled mine. What does that say about me?
No, but I mean, think about, what does it say about you?
that
you run a
got
lot.
some dumbbells at the house, and it's
There you
way
go.
easier for me to do that.
But let's think about it. Right? There's a lot of people trying to buy gym memberships to grow spiritually, right? To use your example, there's a lot of people that are trying to put a lot of things in place, doing a checklist to grow spiritually because they're trying really, really hard to get better.
Yep.
And, we think about it as a dad too. There are a lot of things that we can do as a dad that we are trying so hard to get better at being a dad. Well, the foundational thing is that transformation, understanding where the love comes from, and then a byproduct of that is, man, we are better because we have been given much. We are better because we are being transformed. We are better because we have been forgiven much. And it all goes back to that foundational thing of complete surrender, and then that launches everything forward in life. Mm-hmm. To me, in my head, in my life, in my family, that's the framework is built around putting my hope in Jesus on every aspect. Because I've tried Ryan's way to get better. I've tried Ryan's way to be the best dad and the best husband. Ryan's way does not work.
Mine doesn't either, in case you're wondering. Blake's way doesn't work.
Ty's way doesn't work.
Okay. All right. So we've kind of nailed that down. That our ways don't work. So I think one of the quotes in there, it's it's not about trying harder. It's about training wisely.
Yeah.
We're using scripture. We're using the. Go ahead. You took a deep breath, you wanted to say something.
I say it silly, my way doesn't work, but I'm realizing how many times I keep going back to it. I think eventually it's going to work, and it's easy to spin your wheels.
Because you keep getting that gym membership.
Well,
that ain't doing nothing.
Well, I wasn't using it enough, but it's easy to say it, I guess, but I keep there's a part of me, and maybe it's human nature, you keep thinking, well, eventually I'll figure it out. Eventually my way will work. And I get frustrated with myself that I don't have that realization and then apply it faster. I'd have thought, and I say this all the time, and I'm not the only one that says this, but I'd like to think I would be a lot further along in my sanctification process, now being 3 or 4 years into being a Christian now, and I'm not, and it's frustrating, and I'm disappointed in myself oftentimes. And now if I just sit there and wallow in my own thought, that doesn't do me any good either.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I think it's normal for people to just. You keep thinking that you can be enough, and you keep thinking your way will work, and it just doesn't. And I guess it takes failure after failure to realize that.
Well, and it also takes, and I think this is, the humility of finding people in your life that will actually look you in the eye and tell you that, you know, you do need to try something different. Because, and a lot of times we as guys, we love running away from accountability. I mean, like, that's something that's super, you know, even that word is like, ugh, like, right? Like, I mean, you just imagine like, oh, I'm at a coffee shop and I'm sitting across from a dude and they're like, oh, how's your life? And you're like, oh, I'm good. All right, bye. Like,
Tell me all the sins.
That's
you have
what
in your
we
life
think that
right
is,
now.
right? Like, it's confession. But I mean, the reality is having someone in your life, you know, to say, hey, like, no, this requires humility. And I think a lot of times we give up on ourselves, and that's maybe a part of this as well, is after so many attempts, we go, it'll never get better.
All right.
Right?
So I'm sorry.
No,
Can I
you go
interrupt?
ahead.
Because I want to ask Blakey Boy a question based off what he just said.
I like it.
So why do you think you continue to go back to your way? Like, because you know the answer, right? Like because we've had conversations around the table. Like, we've talked about so why do you think you continue to go back? Because I think that'll translate into maybe as dads, why do we continue to keep trying the same things or doing different or trying the same human methods that aren't maybe working?
Yeah, and I guess I'll clarify. When I say my way, I think it's just like, oh, willpower. Like, you just think it's, because that seems like the easy route, right? But to follow some of the disciplines we're going to go through, like, that takes work. That wouldn't be my way. My way wouldn't be to come up with a set of disciplines that I can follow and have someone that holds me accountable or that I'm confessing sins to or those sorts of things. So probably because in my mind I think it's going to be the easy way, when in reality the right way and the efficient, it's difficult, it's challenging, and it takes work and a lot of time. And we all, especially in America, like ourselves some comfort, even if you're like me, and I like to call it out all the time. I'm susceptible to the same comforts that everybody else is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I don't know where I was going to go with after that, but I just want to ask
Every
you
time
that
you ask
question.
me a question, I'm worried about, like, am I going to have a response here or not? So I appreciate you making me think a little bit.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're just having conversations. Like, we don't have it all figured out. We're just learning, right?
I agree. So
one of the things I've been thinking through, and it's kind of a weird question, you know, is contentment. All right, contentment as a dad, contentment as a husband, being content in life. You know, and we'll talk more about this on another episode when we talk about, you know, where our joy comes from. But do you guys have is it hard to resolve, like, well, I need to be content in my life with the things the Lord has given me and the way the Lord has blessed me, the things I have in my life. I need to be content there. Yet at the same time, I don't want to be content in my spiritual growth and my spiritual walk. Like, do you think sometimes we kind of overlap that, going, all right, I need to be content, so I'm content with what the Lord has given me. I'm content with my wife and my kid and my house and my car, and I'm content. But do you think that stops us from moving forward spiritually, because we do live in a great society that we have lots of stuff?
Yeah, and I would say the good kind of contentment probably comes in the form of thankfulness.
Yeah.
The bad form of contentment, I'm talking about the overlaps, but
Yeah,
if
yeah.
we're going to separate the two, the good portion of that would be thankfulness. The bad, negative portion of that would be like an unwillingness to grow. Right. So if we're thinking about content in terms of, I'm appreciating as many of them. I can't slow down time. Everyone says,
Right.
oh, just, enjoy it while it lasts. I can't slow down time. I've learned, like, there's nothing I can do to make this last any longer than the allotted time God's given us to enjoy it. But I can pause more and be more thankful and content with what I have and not constantly want or covet more. Right?
Okay. All right. So moving off of that, okay, I think that's a great spot. Going back to what you were talking about, trying versus training. Okay. And we said, it's not about us just trying harder on spiritual growth, trying harder to be better at all these things. Like, there is this element of, we got to train, we got to have some discipline. So practically, what are some things that we as dads, people listening, people watching, what are some things that we can do to train wisely? Like, not just try to be better at all these things, like, how do we train wisely to be that dad, that husband that we need to be, and to grow in our, as we're being transformed?
All right.
All right.
Great question.
Great question.
I want to preface by saying I am not a master at some of these things, but I would say the times that I've seen the most growth in my life is, and this is going to be super cheesy, and it kind of goes back to the very beginning of what we talked about, but
I'm okay with cheesy, man.
Developing, actually having a game plan.
Okay.
ChatGPT is going to be super helpful for that. I'm just kidding. Kind of. No, I'm just kidding. But being, I do think it goes back to going, okay, contentment. What are my goals? Like, what are, so for me, it may be different than, what your goals are, in your family. What are the things that you feel like God's called you guys to do together in your, in this season of your life? What are some of those things? How am I training wisely for that? So, I mean, I think if I were to apply this, take a step back, apply it in anything else, developing a game plan would be super important for me. So in other words, who are the people that are supposed to be on this journey with me at this season in life? That may not be the people that are in your life right now. I mean, we talked previously last season about the number one thing guys like to do is when they look for, friends, or they look for people to spend time with, it's trying to escape the realities, or escape the stress, or escape the, daily struggle that you face, go out, drink a couple beers, or, whatever with your guy friends. And instead it's, it should be, no, like who are the guys that are going to push me further in, what God's called me to be, who are actually going to go, man, like, when's the last time you've, stopped and told Catherine how much you appreciate her, or how much you love her, or, those kinds of things. Like, how many nights are you at home spending time with, your family, having dinner? Like, when's the last time you've taken a look at your literal calendar and said, okay, like we've talked about a time budget. My time budget looks a whole lot more me focused than it does them focused. And I need to make some adjustments. So I think it's building a game plan, to go, okay, I'm not going to be able to take back anything that lack of intentionality has stolen from me if I don't actually figure out the problem as it exists right now, and then create a couple of very tangible steps moving forward. So again, that may not be, everyday practical. And the reality is it may look different for, each dad a little bit differently, but who is it that's in my circle right now? What are my priorities with my wife and my kids? And a lot of times, even just being able to write those things down on paper. So maybe it starts with a pen and a pad, like if you can't articulate in, just a couple of sentences, what are your goals? It may not be clear enough in your head to actually, start to walk it out. There may be too much confusion and too many things that you're trying to accomplish, all in one season, instead of actually going, okay, I'm going to take a couple of small steps. And I do want to say, I know I've been talking here for a minute, going back to it's the same thing, but, finding joy, one of the things that Catherine's really good at, because I do have that negative side of contentment a lot. There seems to be always something that I'm wanting, or always something that I'm pushing towards, or always something that, and what I've found in Catherine and I's, 8 years of marriage and our 5 children, and none of them are bad, right? Like, it's not wrong to want, a bigger home for my family. It's not wrong to want, more, freed up finances to be able to go on and take adventures, and, just to, be able to get a little extra bag of broccolis here and there. But, Catherine will constantly, she'll say, can you just stop for a second and look what we have? Just stop for a second and look what we have.
Don't you hate those moments?
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's extremely humbling for me,
right.
but it's life changing because it grounds me back into the reality of the good side, which is thankfulness.
Yeah.
Stop and just look what you have. You have 5 beautiful boys that are playing out in the yard. They're jumping on the trampoline. They're throwing mud at everybody. And we live in a house. When it rains, we stay dry. We have a car with 4 wheels. We've got a table that we can spend time eating together on. And your boys, they love you.
Yeah.
I love you. You have a God that loves you. Like, just stop and look what we have.
Yeah.
And it grounds you back into, okay, not only is this what we have, but this is the most important thing. I want to prioritize everything else to make sure that I'm keeping it that way.
Sometimes I realize I'm sort of living the dream, if you will, that I would have wanted for myself like 10 years ago, and I miss that sometimes. Like, if I could go back 10 years and you said you're going to have the wife you do, the kids you do, the home you do, the job you do, the friends you do, the church, like all this stuff, I would take it and be like, that sounds amazing. Like, yeah, sign me up.
We would take you too, Blake.
So it's part of, realize what you have is that I've caught myself a few times. And here's a moment that, like, my daily reminder of what I have. And you mentioned it earlier, like, just, we have these habits of, like, finding things that are me-centered, or, like, you want to be, where's my time at, right? Like, I'm giving all these things to my family. I got all this time now. Like, my schedules have changed. And every time I go put Danny and Ashley to bed, and I do put both of them to bed, by the way. They're both in bed at like 6:45.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, then they're up at like 3:30. If you're going to run 20
That's
miles
even
a day, you got
crazier.
to wake up at 3:30.
I don't.
So.
I'm not going to.
But the same thing happens to me every time. And
3:30
I'm rushing.
in the morning?
I'm like looking forward to my time, whether I'm finishing up work or I got a show or whatever it is. The dessert in the fridge. I don't know. I just quiet time. Like, the house is going to be quiet.
Oh,
I get
yeah.
like 2 hours every night.
I
where
feel
it's
that
just
dessert
me.
in the fridge,
And I
bro.
like that time.
I will eat a dessert tonight.
So I look forward to it, but then every time I shut the door and I say goodnight and I walk away, I'm like, there's one more night I don't have. And then I'm like, I miss her. Like, all that evening I just had an hour and a half, 2 hours spending with my daughter, and it was great. And even if I enjoyed it relatively well, like, I always regret, I wish I would have enjoyed it more. Because now they're in bed and I have my time, and it's, okay, well, actually, that's over with. That day's gone, and I can't get that back. And I sort of wish they were awake again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Best way I've ever heard it is every day when you wake up, you only have what you thanked God for the day before.
I got to think about that.
Every day when you wake up, if you only had what you actually stopped and thanked God for the day before, what would you have? And if you lived that out every single day,
Lunch.
you would never struggle with contentment
We'd
again.
have lunch every day.
Thank God for lunch.
Yeah. Thank you for this food.
Yeah, that's real. You see what you see what I'm saying, though? I mean, like,
that's a big.
take the time to pray, thank God for what you have. Wake up the next morning, you've got it. What are you praying for? What are you thanking Him for? And you'll very quickly start to see what's important to you.
All right, so I'm going to take a different direction on training wisely. Okay. And again, this is just Ryan. Okay, like, I said earlier, like, one of the things I'm working through is like this high view of God. Okay, like, I was reading in 1 Samuel the other day, and this is the story, and maybe we'll close out with this and move on to another episode. But, like, this is a story when Hannah was in the temple praying. Okay, 1 Samuel, chapter 1, 2, and 3. Like, Hannah's in there praying, and the Eli sees Hannah praying, and her lips are moving. Okay, and he goes, "This lady, what is she doing? She's drunk, right?"
Yeah.
And Hannah goes, "No, I'm praying to the Lord because I want this. I want a son." And this is what she says, and it blew my mind. And I'm like, I've got to get here. She goes, "I was pouring out my soul before the Lord." And I'm like, all right, that's deep. That she had desires in her life. She wanted a child. She had plans. She had all the resources to have a child. She wanted a child. God hadn't given her a child yet. Her posture is a heart posture of, and she says it, I'm pouring out my soul before the Lord.
Yeah.
And so, and then you keep reading, God gives her the child, and what does she do? She gives the child back to God for his service. And I'm like, you know what? Nothing that we have is ours. So if we go back to the foundational thing of he has given us new life and our life is for him, then the thing, our kids, our life, our family, our home, our money, our cars that have four wheels, like those things, they're not ours. It is all the Lord's. And when we surrender, as we're being transformed, as we're discipling, as we're being discipled, as we're not conforming to the things of the world, we pour out our soul before the Lord, understanding that he is in control of it. Man,
and we're stewards.
And we're stewards of it. That radically changes. And I love what you just said. Like, what if we only had what we thank God for? Well, if I'm pouring out my soul before the Lord on a daily basis, well, can you imagine how our life and our family's life will be different, because we're literally giving everything back to him. And so as a dad, as a husband, man, when we give it to the Lord, when we surrender to the Lord, we allow God to transform us, man, that who knows, he can do the unimaginable in our family's lives. And so my question would be like, when's the last time you poured out your soul before the Lord? And that got me. That got me.
I like it.
You like it?
So if you've made it this far,
and
you're still going, yeah, that's good, then get ready, because we're gonna have an awesome season. But seriously, I'm very excited about this season.
And I guess we should let them know we are going to change. Like, we're going to go into a season format, so we're not just going to go straight through year round. Like, we are going to go to a season format. So this is our first time doing a season, and we're looking forward to it. Excited. So I interrupted you.
No, you didn't.
I didn't. Anyway,
maybe.
Blake, boy, you got anything else to add?
No, sir.
Ta-ta.
I'm good.
Hey, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening right here on the Every Dad Podcast.